Hello everyone, welcome back to WsCube. In our today's session, we will be talking about compilers and interpreters. Before we start talking about compilers and interpreters, let's have a small recap on what we have learned in our previous session. So, in our previous session, we discussed about coding and programming language. If I'll repeat it in a short way, then coding is nothing but giving instructions to the computer in the language that it can understand, and the language that it can understand is called as programming language. As simple as that. So now, but many of you must be thinking that how it is understanding programming language, what is there in programming language that our computers are understanding. So programming language have set of instructions, it has grammatical representations, it has a combination of letters, it has a combination of symbols and numbers as well.
Also, if you want to become a successful data analyst and you want to learn from our industrial experts, then you may call on the number given below, or you can also click on the link given in our description. Not just that, with our every batch, you will be getting 2 demo classes for free. So let's get started, guys.
Now, what happens? Many of you might also be thinking that our computers, we from our childhood, we have learned that computers can only understand zeros and ones, that is our binary numbers. Yes, computers can understand binary numbers that are our zeros and ones. Zero where indicate off and one indicates on. But now, how computers can understand these alphabets, these numbers, these symbols? So how they can understand it is because of a software which is working in between. There is a translator that is working in between of the programming language and the binary numbers, or let's say it, machine language. Right now, talking about these translators, there are two types of translators that we have. One are called as compilers, the other one is called as interpreters. You might have heard the term before, but not many of you know what is its meaning. So let's talk about each of them one by one. First of all, let's talk about compiler. Compiler again is a software that translate programming language into machine language. But now how compiler translates it? Compiler takes a whole code at once and translates it and converts it into programming language. Now, what happens with the interpreters? Interpreter doesn't take a whole code at once. It takes one line at once. It will read one line of code and execute it, then another line of code executed, another line of code executed, while at the same time compiler takes the whole code. Now there are advantages and also there are disadvantages of compilers and interpreters both. Compiler where it takes a whole code at once, it makes it faster. The process is really fast when it converts it into a machine language, while at the same time, because interpreter takes one line at a time, it is a bit lengthy process. But now, what is the disadvantage over here? Now, compiler takes a whole code at once, right? Suppose there is a mistake, because when we are writing a huge code, there are certain chances, there are so many chances where we can write, where we can make a mistake. But in compiler, what will happen? It will read a whole code at once, and in the end, it will just tell you that there is an error. It won't tell you where it is, but it will just tell you that there is an error. So it will be very difficult for the programmer or for the user to find where he has made an error if it is a huge program. Now, considering the same case in the interpreter runs one line at a time, it reads one line at a time and executes it. So whenever there is an error in any of the line, it completely stops the program, tells the user that there is an error in this line, which makes the debugging very easier. So Python over here, Python is an interpreted language. That means it uses interpreters. Here in Python, each line is read it first, and it as soon as there is a mistake or as soon as there is a bug, it tells the user, okay, that there is a bug in this line. So this is one of the major advantage of interpreters. So this was about compilers and interpreters. I won't go deep inside it because I think this is the enough information that is required for the compilers and interpreters. Now, in our next session, we will be discussing about what is Python, what are its advantages, what are its advantages over the other languages, what platforms it is compatible for. Then we will be also learning how it can be downloaded and used. So, guys, stay connected and I'll see you in the next session. Thank you.